Does intellectual property rights actually protect the rights of creators? Or is it simply a tool used by the rich to control the poor? Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this channel we try to explore all aspects of the law, including asking some of the more philosophical questions like what is law? Today we're going to answer the question, is intellectual property actually a shield for innovation or is it a tool used for exploitation? At first glance, intellectual property or IP looks like a tool which is created to protect creators and innovators. But look closer and you'll notice how it disproportionately benefits the rich and powerful while leaving the poor behind. And the best way to dig into this question is through the Marxist perspective. So let's get started. Now before we start, a quick recap. Intellectual property includes things like patents, copyrights, trademarks and trade secrets, basically the legal tools that give exclusive rights over creations, from innovations to medicines to art. In theory, IP protects creators and fuels innovation. Meanwhile, Marxism is a theory that believes that the law is a tool used by the rich to control and exploit the poor. The bourgeois or the wealthy elite control resources and institutions, while the working class or the proletariat provide the labor but remain marginalized. Put the two together and you start to understand why critics argue that IP is a capitalist tool which strengthens inequality and exploits the poor. Think about how the owners of intellectual property rights can exploit those IP rights. Take for example a big pharmaceutical company that patents a drug that costs $5 to produce. Now because they own the patent, they can sell it for $500 or even $5,000. And the patients who can't afford that price tag are simply left out. This isn't innovation. It's not extracting a profit from creating something new, but from controlling access to that thing. Now the defenders of IP rights argue that it promotes creativity by rewarding inventors. But in reality, it often blocks innovation more than it promotes it. Take the tech industry for example. Big tech companies engage in patent trolling, which is where they patent trivial tweaks in technology and then sue startups for infringement, thus blocking them from innovating. This isn't creating, it's about killing the competition. Whether it's medicines, food or technology, IPR doesn't just promote innovation, it creates an artificial scarcity and blocks innovation. Knowledge that can be abundant and shared are locked behind legal walls so that corporations can make a profit from it. From a Marxist perspective, this is a clear example of a law being used as a tool by the rich to exploit and control the poor. But the beauty of this deception is that the rich are able to convince the poor that intellectual property rights are in fact there for the benefit of the poor themselves. They are able to convince us that these IP rights are in fact in our best interest. If you want to understand a little bit more about Marxist philosophy, you can check out my video on it. A pop-up for it should be appearing on the screen now. The problem goes beyond individuals. IP creates global inequality. International agreements like the TRIPS agreement force developing countries to adopt strict IP laws, thus keeping them dependent on the West. Think about the pandemic and COVID-19 vaccines. Despite calls for a waiver on vaccine patents, rich countries and big pharma blocked that proposal. Wealthy nations hoarded doses while poorer countries waited months or even years to vaccinate their populations. This is evidence to show that patents got to decide who lived and who didn't. Now from a Marxist lens, this is exploitation at a global level. And the thing is, historically, today's rich countries didn't become rich magically and overnight. They did so by copying and stealing technologies from other countries. If you take the UK during the Industrial Revolution or the US in the 19th century, they copied innovations from other countries to catch up. But now that they are on the top, these same countries demand strict IP protection from developing nations through agreements like the TRIPS. This is what is called kicking the ladder away. The rich climb up using the lack of IP laws, then kick the ladder down by creating strict laws so that the poorer nations can't follow the same path. So should we abolish IP laws altogether? Marxists would argue yes. or at least that they should be radically reconstructed. Rather than create monopolies on ideas, knowledge, and innovations, these things could be shared globally to serve mankind as a whole. And there are some examples of this in action. Take open source softwares like Linux. It's developed collectively, freely shared, and powers much of the internet today without patents or paywalls. Or take the Human Genome Project. Unlike private biotech firms that wanted to patent genes, the project released genetic data publicly. This openness sped up medical research around the world, proving that collaboration fuels progress more than monopolies. These examples show us that collective ownership isn't just a dream, but that it's actually happening. So how can we fix this? How can we actually fight back? In the short term, governments can issue compulsory licenses which will allow for generics of life-saving medicines. Patent waivers during crises like the COVID-19 crisis can save millions of lives. You can also support open source movements like Linux, Wikipedia, and OpenStreetMaps. And also push for open access science so that research funded with public money actually benefits the public. In the long term, reform isn't enough. The long-term goal has to be democratizing knowledge, moving away from private ownership and towards collective use, where science, art, and technology exist for human progress, not private profit. In conclusion, although intellectual property rights are often framed as protecting innovations, in practice it reinforces inequality. From drug patents to tech monopolies to global vaccine hoarding, IP serves the interests of the rich while creating barriers for the poor and the working class. So maybe it's time that we start to rethink how we use IP. Should it remain a private weapon, or should it become a collective resource for humanity? So what do you think? Do you think we need to abolish IP? Or should we reform it? Or should we leave it as it is? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this episode, please do consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.